Hello YouTube, welcome to Backstage Printing. On this channel we're going to be trying out a whole bunch of 3D printing stuff. We're going to be testing out different filaments and doing various post-processing techniques. We'll be pushing the limits of scale and most importantly offering tips and tricks to help get you 3D printing as smoothly as possible. And welcome to our very first video. In this one, we're going to be doing an honest review of our very first 3D printer, the XYZ DaVinci Pro from XYZ Printing. And yeah, let's cut right to it. All right, to give you a better idea as to where we're coming from, I've been printing for about 2 weeks. Also, I should introduce myself. Hey, I'm Elle. Good to meet you. I just hit my mic. I've been 3D printing for about 2 weeks, but I have been researching and pining over a 3D printer for about a year and a half now. I just recently got my degree from MSU in theater design, so I work a lot with AutoCAD and 3D modeling on a digital side, but this is kind of my first dip into the pond doing it in the physical side. So I started out with mainly half-inch scale and quarter-inch scale models of furniture, bookcases, that sort of thing. That's what really got me interested in it, because you can make it so very accurately on the computer, and then when it came into model building, I was relegated to building things out of X-Acto knives and cardstock and foam core, and it's this very messy sort of process full of human error. And 3D printing has kind of turned that right around for me. I'll give you a few examples of my print quality that I'm getting. And although it's in yellow, which is what came with my printer, you can get an idea kind of the scale that we're able to work with here. Yeah, that yellow's not working so well. But so this is a bookcase. This actually was on Thingiverse from an alcohol cabinet, is what they were calling it, an alcohol cabinet. I have another one here that's more of an executive desk. It's a little bit smaller. And the accuracy on this isn't bad at all. I was actually getting better prints on the DaVinci Pro than I thought I was going to. Here's a bookcase, would be about 8 feet tall in real life, and you can see how we have all those little books in there. I promise I will start printing on a different spool that is a little more camera friendly. But to get into our review, let's go ahead and jump on that. All right, so here's the review. We're going to do pros, and then we're going to do cons, and we're going to, I guess, conclude with a should you buy it, should you not buy it, why might you buy it, and what kind of consumer it's more geared towards. So as far as the pros of the DaVinci Pro go, this channel is going to be full of bad jokes. I'm sorry already. So as far as the pros go, it features an enclosed print bed, which is rare for a pre-assembled model of this price range. It has a heated bed feature. It's an aluminum print bed. Some are glass. This model is aluminum. So it opens up a whole new range of materials that you're able to print with. It prints both ABS and PLA. Very important. PLA and ABS have different strengths and weaknesses. PLA is going to be a little bit more bendy. ABS is going to provide stronger prints, but it also is a little bit more brittle. And you can print more than just ABS and PLA plastics on this printer. I wouldn't go so far as to recommend that you can print flexible filaments, but there certainly are a wide range of filaments that are compatible with this type of printer. Moving on into compatibility, we have a third-party friendly printer from XYZ Printing for the very first time, which is awesome. Most of the negative comments that XYZ Printing has gotten in the past have been related to their proprietary cartridge system, which they still implement within this printer. They offer the proprietary cartridges. There's definitely the slot inside of the printer for those to go. So they encourage you to buy their own printer filament, but you're not mandated to, which is a huge step up from what we were dealing with before. So as far as how you would install the third-party filament into the DaVinci Pro, it has a slot for that cartridge, but to use a third-party filament, you're going to have to print your own spool holder. There's hundreds and hundreds of these out here. This is one of mine. It just sort of clips onto the back of your printer, and you can kind of hang your printing spool off the back of the printer, or you can get sort of a Lazy Susan or turntable style one and have that sitting next to your printer. The build area for the DaVinci Pro is enormous for the price range. It has a 7.8 by 7.8 by 7.8 cubed build surface. It's about twice of what I was finding for something with a comparable price range. And there's no other printer on the market right now that has all of these features, that has the larger build surface, and is still in the same price range. It took mine about 3 days worth of shipping to get to me. And although the box itself had been manhandled and the straps were coming off of it, and it had just had a really rough ride coming from FedEx ground right a few days before Christmas. So it was like the absolute worst shipping scenario that you can imagine. And I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that inside of the box, the packing material was such, and it was so secure that those damages and that mishandling didn't really affect it at all. I've been reading and watching other reviews here, both on YouTube and on forums online, and I am led to believe that they have actually upped their packing game. So it's another bonus for that. The XYZ DaVinci Pro does detect whether or not the door on the front of the printer is open. Now, a lot of people have this kind of knee-jerk reaction to that, saying, well, I don't want a locking door on my printer. I need to be able to open it up and mess with things as it's printing. I need to be able to stop it, or if it's damaging itself, I need to say, oh, no, I need to stop and kind of interfere, but it doesn't stop printing. That's not to say that a print can't be paused. It can. That's one of the options on their menu interface that is on the front of the printer. Okay, I promised it was coming. Here's the negative. And it's not a long list, to be fair. Now, one of the main customer complaints for this printer is that the shipping and handling is not so great. It's coming to them damaged right out of the box. They're not able to turn it on. They're having problems getting it set up. But a lot of these problems can be avoided if you just buy your printer from a reputable source. So I got mine via Amazon, and it was shipped via FedEx ground. And even though it came to me right before the holidays and it had obviously been mishandled by the shipping agency, the shipping itself was fine. Don't buy your printer from someone like an eBay or some third party less reputable source, because your customer support, that is the insurance that you have on those items, is going to be less secure from that kind of site. You don't have the opportunity, if your printer arrives to you in 600 pieces and it's the box is crushed and it's obviously just this mangled mess, you don't have the opportunity to return it and get your full refund that you're obviously entitled to. So that aside, shipping was a breeze for me, and even if it hadn't been, I would have been able to turn around to Amazon and say this didn't arrive as promised, and I would have been able to get an exchanged printer. So the next subject is it's called a plug and play printer. It's marketed to be user friendly. It's marketed to be um, readily accessible by everyone. And using the phrase plug and play is kind of dangerous in my mind for a 3D printer, because no 3D printer is genuinely plug and play. It's just not that simple. It was made to be a prototyping um, machine. It was made for the tinkerer. It was made for somebody who likes to take things apart and who isn't going to get that upset at that, even though failed prints can be upsetting. But calling it plug and play is misleading. I would probably say pre-assembled. It is a pre-assembled 3D printer, meaning that you are going to have to do some alterations to it as soon as you get it. Now, before we react too much to that, I'm talking things about bed leveling or calibrating or the Z offset function. So bed leveling with the XYZ Pro can be a little bit confusing. There's a very helpful video on the XYZ website that walks you through this step by step. There's also a manual that comes with the printer itself that tells you, and read the instructions. If you don't read the instructions on anything that you get, read the instructions on this one thing, because it's going to help you out so much with your setup and get you off to a great start. The manual shows you the turn of phrase that they're using when they talk about turning the knob forward or backward or to the right or to the left. It tells you exactly what that is, and it also gives you a diagram along with that to help you along. So that decomplicates our bed leveling process. The other thing I want to talk to you about that I hear complaints of over and over again, people not being able to get printing right away, is something called Z offset. We'll do another video about Z offset and bed calibration, telling you a little bit more in depth and just walking through it step by step. But Z offset involves putting the print head either closer to or further away from the print bed once the print bed itself has been leveled. This is especially important if we're putting anything onto the print bed, like the blue painter's tape that I use for mine, that has a thickness to it. You need to then take the print head and use the Z offset function to move the print head up just a little bit to allow for the thickness of that tape. The same applies to Capcom tape or build tack. They all have different thicknesses, and every machine is a little bit different, a little bit finicky. That's just the nature of the beast with this. So don't believe, I think my conclusion from this one is, don't believe that the 3D printer that you have received in the mail, if you do get the XYZ Pro, has been pre-calibrated. They may have calibrated it before that shipping process starts, but as we've talked through, it's not delivered on a cloud by some magical 3D printing fairies who are going to treat it really delicately and ensure that it's still calibrated when it gets to you. So we need to do some of that fine tuning on our own. Go ahead, ignore the phrase on your manual that says don't calibrate your bed, don't level your bed. Do it anyway. It won't hurt, and it can only help improve your print quality. Okay, the next thing I want to address is the plastic push fittings that are located inside the machine. Now, of things that fail on these printers, the potential failed parts, these push fittings located here at the back of the machine are one of the more finicky things. Now, if you get into contact with XYZ Printing customer support, they will send you a replacement part or two, but it has to be within the warranty for your machine. Now, they're very inexpensive parts, and these plastic push fittings in particular are on the cheaper side, so if you do end up having to get a replacement for it, if they do fail, it's a very simple fix, and you can actually buy something to replace them with just, I think it's like under $5. The other option that you have is just using a little bit of Loctite or epoxy on that. Now it's not a great fix, and if you do have to remove that part later on, it does complicate things, but it will get you back and going right away. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is the XYZ wear that comes included with the printer. Now, this is a slicing software that is included with the printer itself. It comes on a CD and installs on your computer. Now, not every 3D printer or 3D printing kit comes with this inclusion. Do we buy it? Do we not? Mine was a gift. I will say that much, but it's something that I've been looking into for quite a long time. And after doing months and months of research and comparing different models, whether I wanted to have a pre-assembled one or whether I wanted to build a kit on my own, this being my introduction to 3D printing, I feel like it's a good choice to make. As far as the price range, it's one of the best options out there, especially when you consider heated bed. You don't have really any other options for that in a pre-built model in that price range. So with the versatility of the different filaments that you can use with this printer, with the heated bed, with the enclosed printing space, and just the overall print quality, which we'll get to in subsequent videos, I would say that yes, this one so far, at least, has my seal of approval. And we will be continuing on in this channel and trying to offer some troubleshooting tips and tricks to get you going. And I say that the benefits of this model, as opposed to the potential roadblocks that you may encounter, definitely make it worth it. So go ahead, give XYZ Printing a try, and stay tuned, like, subscribe, and yeah, we'll just keep printing.